All right. I will also need people to look up definitions. So I either have 2 dictionaries out, or if I could have 3 people pull out their computers, if you have room on your desk for computers, and pull 3, so that we can look up definitions. Do I have 3 people that can look up definitions? Okay, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Perfect. All right. So when we go, this is going to be skill 3 for Bush. We're going to go ahead and make our T-chart. Have y'all ever planned with a T-chart before? Nope. I mean, it's pretty basic, right? So these are going to be, this top box is going to be our claim. This is going to be claim number 1. This is going to be claim number 2. This line down the middle represents our shift. That's our main shift. Now, we have to divide it in half first, right? So we decided that it was between 4 and 5, right? Because we already started talking about kind of the shift, right? We said the first part's like past and present, kind of, and then the next part's future, right? This is y'all's, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to label, right? Remember when we were annotating, we annotated the plan, so we're using our annotations for that. So the first half is going to be paragraphs 1 through paragraph 4. And our second part is paragraphs 5 through paragraph 9. So we've divided it in half. After we divide the passage in half, what's our next step? Divide that half in half. So we're going to divide this in half. Now we want to decide where we're going to chunk up each half. The reason why we do this before we start choosing our evidence is because, one, it helps you to kind of calm down. When you're seeing that timer go off and you're stressing out and you've deconstructed the prompt, you've read it annotated, you're like, I don't know what to write, you start stressing. So this is where we go in, and this kind of planning kind of takes out some of the guessing. So if we look at paragraphs 1 through 4, we've got to divide that in half. So looking at paragraphs 1 through 4, how would you group those together? Talk with your partner. Which ones would you put together?
1 and
3 and 4 is kind of like
All right. How would you divide it up? Sometimes, you remember how we talked about when you were reading and annotating, you're like, well, I see another shift. Sometimes you see multiple shifts in there. This is where, once you divide it in half, if you find a smaller shift, that's how you can put it here, right? So if you found a smaller shift in the second half, you can put it, that's how you break these paragraphs. So how would you break paragraphs 1 through 4? So 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, and then 4? Okay. Did y'all do it the same way? How else did y'all divide it? 1, 2, 3, 4? I mean, you could literally just divide it in half if you don't see any kind of chunking. Most of us, the ones that we've been doing, we did it 1 through 3, paragraph 4. Now again, it doesn't matter. However you do it is fine. And honestly, this main shift is the big one. Right? You just don't want to leave a paragraph here where like maybe you didn't find anything interesting in there. You wouldn't want to leave that paragraph by itself, right? Now let's look at paragraphs 5 through 9. How would we group those up? All right. How do we divide up 5 through 9? Oh, I can't yell. 5 and 6 together. Okay. And then 7 through, it's really 8, but 9's like a throwaway, right? Okay. So, what this does now is now you know where to go find your evidence. Okay? When we annotated, I said we annotate to plan. This is where those annotations come in handy, right? You don't have to go back and reread everything. But one thing I want you to look at is that we plan chronologically, across and down. Meaning, you will never go into an essay like this, right, where you have a passage and just start randomly pulling pieces from different parts of the essay. We will always analyze chronologically from the beginning to the end of the passage. So we have the beginning, the middle, the end. When I get into training you on our rubric, you'll see that that is what we call like a line of reasoning. We're following the line of reasoning of the author. And here, it makes it easy for us to follow the line of reasoning because you're creating your own line of reasoning. It's a whole thing. I'll tell you about it when we get there. Okay. Now, after we've divided it in half, and we've divided the half in half, now what's our next step? We already did that. Find your evidence. So notice you have a couple of choices here. And we could try it all different ways. Sometimes it's very easy once you understand what I want from a claim. Sometimes the claim will be easy for you to have, and you go, okay, here's my claim. I know that's what he's claiming. Here's the evidence. For me, I think the claim is the hardest part out of all of this. So for me, I think it's easier to find my evidence first and then go, okay, what is that claim being made? Rather than, here's the claim, let me go find stuff to support it. So we're going to start from the bottom and build our way up. Okay, so look at paragraphs 1 through 3. What is something in there? Well, let me go back. We have to answer the question why or how, right? So why or how should our strength be reaffirmed? That's what we were annotating for, right? Like that's what we were looking for. That's what our claim should answer. Because there's the purpose that we were given, right? Reaffirm the country's strength. So why or how should our country be reaffirmed? Okay. Look in paragraphs 1 through 2 or 1 through 3. Find a piece of evidence that we marked that we liked. Talk with your partner. Go. Actually, wait. My brain is scattered. I haven't had to do anything for 5 days. We talked about like that we saw the shift there because past and present, right? Like we said past and present, it was in the first part and then future was the second part. So past being like that morning, right? So we're going to kind of divide this by this is the past, this is the present, and then these will be the future, right? That's kind of where we saw the shifts for that reason. So look in paragraphs 1 through 3 and see if you have a piece of evidence that represents the past being that morning, right? Find something that we like. Talk with your partner. You got like a minute. Go. All right, what's a piece of evidence in paragraphs 1 through 3 that we think best represents, like, quote unquote, the past being like that morning? What piece of evidence are we looking at? Shiva?
The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, and then huge structures collapsing.
Okay, that whole sentence? Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we're going to write down our evidence. So the pictures. Of airplanes flying into buildings. Fires burning. Huge structures collapsing. And I'm actually going to add like the last part of it because I also kind of like that. And I think it gives us a lot to analyze. Have filled us with disbelief, terrible sadness, and the quiet and yielding anger. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and write the whole quote down. I could have also used like the victims were in airplanes or in their offices. I could have used that whole list too. So I want to jot down what did I label that. So I'm going to label that we used action verbs. We use contrast. And we also set a list. And we tied it to a couple of things, right? So that's good. Notice that for right now, I am okay your evidence being longer. I'm not looking for like individual words, okay? I'm okay right now for your evidence to be longer. We'll fix it when we get into skill 4 when we do the analyzing. All right, if that was the past, right, that morning, where's something in paragraph 4? Now, here's where you can kind of decide. Let's say you split it here and you go, man, there's something in 3 that I really want to use. Then you can just change this to 3 and 4 and then put something in 3. If there's something in 3 that you really like, then you can do something from paragraph 3, right? But let's look at paragraph 4. What's something in paragraph 4 that we like that would maybe show the present of what's happening? Yeah, I think all of the like hour, right? I think so. I'm gonna skip past like our government's emergency response plan, and I'm gonna go to the collective nouns, right? The our military, and then the verbs that come with it. So I'm gonna start with the descriptors that come with it. Our military is powerful and it's prepared. I want to keep going, so I would do our emergency teams, and I'm really looking at the verbs that they're doing, right? Like are working, emergency teams are working. Now, we use ellipses, the ... sparingly in here. Because when you use ellipses, what you're doing is you're saying that the words that are in there aren't valuable. But here, what I want to just focus on the collective nouns, our military, our emergency team, and what they're doing, right? Also, when you use ellipses, everything within the quotes that you're taking all have to grammatically fit together. Our military is powerful and prepared. Our emergency teams are working. Those are like thoughts, right? So I can do the ellipses after that. I I think I'm going to skip the our first priority. I think I'm going to skip our citizens, and then I'm going to go to our government. Now, continue, does that fit grammatically in there? Our government continue. So what should it be? Continues. So if I have to change something to grammatically fit,
Put in brackets.
yep, square brackets, right? Our government continues, ... And then I'm going down to our financial institutions remain strong. I don't have to do a ... afterwards because I'm going to end up paraphrasing something at the end of that.
So now you're just trying to just like mix that and make it to like one solid piece of evidence?
That's going to be my piece of evidence. Yeah. So instead of taking the whole entire thing, I'm taking, but it's still, those are still complete thoughts, right? Our military is powerful and it's prepared. Our emergency teams are working. Our government continues. Our financial institutions remain strong. Those still grammatically fit.
When we embed this in our text, like whenever we're writing, are we going to use the other two also?
Yeah. For here, right there, yes. Yeah. I'll show you that, skill 4. Don't get ahead of me. That's next. And if you're not sure, I would just write out the whole thing. For right now, for planning, I would rather you write more and then figure out what we actually need when we start embedding. So we're going to label that. What do we label that? We labeled that action verbs. We labeled that descriptors. The collective nouns, I don't think we did that, but I think that would work. Okay. All right, now for the hard part. We're looking for our big idea. Okay, if we look at that and we want to answer, why should our strength be reaffirmed? What should we understand from that? Why should our strength be reaffirmed? Talk to your partner. What do those two things prove? Why should our country be reaffirmed in its strength?
It's like our government is still working, our military is powerful.
Correct answer, you're giving me evidence. So that can't work for our claim. What do those things prove?
That we're a strong country.
Well, that's what he's trying to tell us. But why should we be strong? Why do we believe we're strong? So listen to what, like the questions, the things that you're saying are not wrong, but you're just telling me what's already in there, right?
They need to overcome like adversity or like.
Because what?
They need to overcome adversity or like challenges that face.
Okay, so we have overcome adversity, right? Okay, so
Just to show like this is an example of like this is what you need to do, what we're capable of. We've done this before.
okay, so we're capable of overcoming adversity.
In spite of this abhorrent event, we can still remain strong.
Yep, that's overcoming adversity. What is one word that would represent that? Like a characteristic. Yep, that would work too. So I think claims are the hard part. I mean, the analysis part is hard, but I think claims are the hard part. If you have something that is factual as a claim, you have nothing to argue afterwards. All you are is just saying the same thing over and over again, right? If you say the same thing as the purpose, you're not proving the purpose. Why should we be strong? Because we're strong. The wind blows wind to blow wind, right? It doesn't say anything. So now we go back and do the math. Why should we be strong? Because we have overcome adversity. Why should we be strong? Because we are resilient. Does that make sense? Does that math check out? So when I say do the math, that's what I mean. Why should we be strong? Our emergency teams. Math doesn't work. Right? Why should we be strong? Because we're strong. Math doesn't work. So when I say let's go back and look at the math, that's what we're looking at. So we'll either choose overcoming adversity or resilient. We'll choose one of those when we get to writing it. Now, we looked at tone, and I think we started saying kind of hopeful. So look at your tone words, and what we're going to do, we didn't start defining tone words at all, did we? I left you some room. What I want you to do is as we define tone words, as you look them up, you guys think you know what tone, like what words mean, what some words mean, but you don't know like the nuance of each word. So when we look up a tone word, jot down like a shortened definition of it so you have it every time. So notice we have neutral, sad, positive, negative, humor. So if we're looking for this first half and we're looking for a tone, we could probably mark out humor, right? We could probably mark that category out. I don't know, like I'd skim through negative and look at harsh, furious, contradictory, disappointed. I don't think that negative fits that, right? Even though what he's talking about isn't great. Okay. So then talk with your partner, find a couple of tone words. It could be neutral, it could be like sorrow, it could be positive. We want to choose an appropriate tone word that would match the situation by a president in this situation. So talk with your partner, let's get a couple down, and then we'll look up definitions for them.
He's gonna pick the same. I would
All right. What are some options? What are some options that we have? Let's jot down some options. What are some options that y'all came up with? Gavin? What? Authoritative. Okay. What else? Consoling. Okay. Anything else? Optimistic. All right. So let's define these. Now, when we look up words, we can't define the word with the word. So if you look up a definition and the base word of the word is in the definition, you have to look up that word, right? So, Kyle, why don't you look up optimistic? Shifa, why don't you do authoritative? And then Francisco, will you look up consoling? Once you get those definitions, let's read them out. I would jot down your definitions out to the side. I know you don't have a lot of room. Just write down small, just write down like keywords from the definition. Whenever you get them, tell me you're ready. Kyle, you ready? Okay, so optimistic is showing hope for the future. And that's under positive, right? Yep. Okay, authoritative. Commanding and self-confident. Okay. That's under the neutral. Okay, and then consoling.
Service to comfort someone at a time of grief
Okay, so comforting in the time of grief. So now that did y'all find all three of those words in there? So now that we have those true definitions, which one do you think best fits the situation? Consoling?
Just fits perfect.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like, y'all know words, and y'all think y'all know words, but then we look them up and we match, right? So I would say out of those three, I would probably say consoling is the best. Consoling is showing comfort in a time of, like, distress. Okay, we will actually write the claim later. Okay, so now that y'all know how that works, let's go to paragraph 5 and 6. So we said the shift was like past, present, and then this is kind of future. So what's something in paragraphs 5 and 6 that we liked for evidence? Let your annotations lead you. What's something in there that you annotated? We want to look for something different than like action verbs and like descriptors because we kind of have that here. So we want to look for something different over here. Keldon, what do you like?
Search is underway for those who are behind the
Okay, we didn't even underline anything in that line. Meh. You've got to go back and look at the things that we annotated for. Look at paragraphs 5 and 6, Francisco.
To find those responsible and to bring them to justice.
Okay, so to find and to bring, yep. And then the who committed, yeah, because we did the actions and then the examples, right? So I like the idea of to find. Even though that's still action verbs, I'm okay with it right now. Yeah, and I would probably group the idea of like who committed, and who harbor. I might find a way to add those in together. So we have like our actions, so the label would be like our actions. I would say the other thing that I might like in 6 is I might have taken the collective actions, or like this the parallelism, the condolences and assistance, friends and allies, peace and security. I might have taken that because I want to try to get things that are different, right? Action verb, actions again, right? I might want to take something that's a little different so I can show some variety in my labels. We didn't get to finish paragraph 8 apparently, huh? This is a day when all Americans from every walk of life unite in our resolve for justice and peace. So see, if I chose that parallelism up there, I could tie that parallelism together there. America has stood down enemies before, and we will do so this time. That's what I would say is what we call historical precedence. Historical precedence is like a line of logical reasoning that because we have done it before, we can expect that we can do it again, right? So historical precedence means it's happened before, we can do this again. None of us will ever forget this day, yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world. I would say that's a call to action. So if I were to take, this is looking at the future of what we will do, 7 through 9, what would be a good piece of evidence that we would use there?
Like when when it says go forward to defend freedom, like it's talking about like the future when it says forward.
Okay, so that last part, like, so that none of us will ever forget this yet.
To defend freedom and all.
We go forward.
I just kind of wish there was a little more of that.
Well, I mean, we can do it as a call to action there. So our label would be a call to action there. All right. So, big idea. Talk with your partner. Need a big idea. Why should our strength be reaffirmed? What does that half prove? Talk to your partner.
Could you use the why and how for two different shifts? Just like use I try to pick one question when I'm picking. So I don't want to do one claim as why and the second one is how, because then it doesn't sound like it like belongs together. So if I can change the how some way into a why, then it helps. Yeah, because it's going to help create a clear line of reasoning. If we're showing the reader that every body paragraph will answer why or how or sometimes when, then it makes it easier to follow. All right. So why should our strength be reaffirmed? Keldon?
Justice.
Why should our strength be reaffirmed? Justice. Does the math work? Okay.
They're prepared. Something of that sort.
Okay. Why should our strength be reaffirmed? Because we're prepared. Wilbur?
That is prepared to defend freedom and assured that.
Too much. Too much. Needs to be short. Y'all will see when y'all write y'all's claims, if y'all write so much in your claim, you're not going to have anything else to answer.
Voice to strike.
Because, do what?
Voice to strike. Like, we're about to.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same thing, right? Same thing as prepared. I think prepared works for now. All right, now let's go find tone. So there was a shift in tone. Bless you. All right, let's find our top three. Gavin. Patriotic. Okay. What's another one? Do what? Nope. Wait, optimistic again? Oh, yeah, because it was up there. Yeah, we could try it here. Okay. It might better fit here. What else, Shifa? Encouraging. Y'all, come on. Can we choose words that aren't like sophomore words that y'all already know? Patriotic. Encouraging. Come on, y'all. You've got a whole list there. Fervent. All right. I'm taking out Shifa. I'm sorry. I'm dropping your encouraging. Okay. Kyle. Wait, well, you already looked up patriotic, right? What was patriotic? What did we say? Oh, we didn't. We looked up optimistic. Okay. So Kyle looked up patriotic.
Maybe like bravery, like
Nah. We already did optimistic. Shifa, will you look up fervent? Once y'all get it, let us know. Okay, fervent. Where'd y'all find fervent? Under neutral. Okay, what does fervent mean?
Displaying a passionate intensity.
Ooh, passionate intensity. Ooh, look at all the words y'all are learning. Encouraging. Sorry, Shifa. Fervent was, read it one more time. Fervent was what?
Passionate intensity.
Passionate intensity. Okay. Kyle, what was patriotic?
Love or devotion to one's country.
Love or devotion to one's country. Meh. And optimistic, what do we have as optimistic? Okay, hope for the future. Which one is the best out of the three?
Fervent.
Fervent. I like fervent. Y'all learning a new word. Okay. Tomorrow we'll choose our RAVs, but tomorrow I'll write the claims with y'all. So don't lose that piece of paper. (25 through 36), you can get your phones. Ooh. I know. Look at the change.